Poverty in Nigeria. Buhari should stop the blame game. Yes, the presidency came some days ago to say the reason there is so much poverty in the land is because the government, the state governors are not spending money on what they should be spending money on, and so are not cooperating with federal government in poverty alleviation. Coupled with the fact that there's a rule now around state government diverting the local government funds for their own use in the state without remitting the money to local government to use. So now there's a call on the presidency, especially Buhari, to stop that blame game. He has a responsibility and he has to take that responsibility and own it. So let's see what has to be said more about this poverty management in Nigeria. These are not the best of times for Nigerians. There are several existential threats confronting the average Nigerian. A man whose house is on a raging inferno certainly cannot have any time to spare to chase rats. That is true. For about 2 weeks now, Nigerians have been trekking, sweating, thirsty, and starving. No thanks to petrol scarcity and the high cost of living. The persistent fuel shortage has continued, and people are left running from pillar to post, seeking for what God, in his infinite mercies, deposited in large quantities in our land. Yet we have been living in want and scarcity. The paradox is such that a people and a nation that have no reason to be poor are wallowing in abject poverty. And that is true. Recently, the National Bureau of Statistics announced that the number of Nigerians living in poverty stands at over 133 million. It said the figure represents 63% of the nation's population, and that is true. And according to the report, over half of the population who are poor cook with dung, wood, or charcoal rather than cleaner energy. It said high deprivations are also apparent in sanitation, time to health care, food insecurity, and housing. The report noted that multidimensional poverty is higher in rural areas where 72% of the people are poor compared to 42% of people in urban areas. Approximately, the Bureau said 70% of the Nigerian population live in rural areas, yet these areas are home to 80% of poor people. Damning, isn't it? You would think that a nation that is confronted with this humongous challenge would be more interested in addressing this critical issue. Not so. They are more interested in trading blames, passing the buck, thereby shirking their responsibilities, right? The gasoline stations are not selling petrol, and wherever you find a station selling, the queues are usually so long and cost varies from place to place, but it is usually sold for over 250 naira per liter as against the official rate of 165 naira per liter or thereabout. Now, to think that the Nigerian economy is virtually road-driven simply explains why whenever there is scarcity or increase in the pump price of fuel, the entire economy immediately takes a hit and the effect cascades. Similarly, the reported cases of farmers abandoning their farms because of the threats of gun-wielding non-state actors has also ensured the scarcity and exorbitant cost of foodstuff in the market. For 7.5 years, Nigerians have not had relief. These harrowing experiences have turned a lot of people into beggars, and those who manage to eke out a living from their jobs are feeding from hand to mouth. Commuting from one part of the country to another or within cities and communities has also taken a toll on Nigerians as transportation fares keep going up. Nigerians have to come to live with this sad development and are only hoping for a better tomorrow. However, it does not help the fortunes of the people, or does it give them any reprieve when the government begins to make claims or shift blame in manners that do not add up. Last Wednesday, the federal government, while reviewing the high poverty level in the country, said the 36 governors of the federation were to blame for not getting their priorities right in their respective states. The federal government, speaking through the Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, Clement Agba, claimed that rather than fight poverty headlong by improving the lives of their citizens, the governors prefer to embark on such projects like airports and flyovers that were unrelated to their welfare. Agba made the accusation while fielding questions at the end of the Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari at the State House, Abuja. In apparent reference to the report by National Bureau of Statistics, which stated that approximately 70% of Nigeria's population live in rural areas, yet these areas are home to 80% of poor people, he reiterated that the governors prefer to function in the state capital, where the federal government on its part has done its best on poverty alleviation, expressing regrets that there was no reflection of the amount of investment that has been done in that area. Agba said rather, governors should invest in areas that could directly uplift the standard of living of the people in the rural areas. The minister pointed out that while states were in charge of land for agriculture, they did not invest in them for the desired effect on their rural citizens. Empty self-adulations. If you ask me, Agba is simply giving a dog a bad name in order to hang it. Are the governors in charge of the petroleum sector? Do they have the power of or control of military to fight insurgency, banditry, and other armed gangs who continue to sack our farmers from their farms? And as though to further tighten its grip on the jugular of the governors, President Buhari the following day, Thursday, criticized them over what he described as unfair treatment meted out on the third tier of government. He had said that it beats one's imagination how some state governors will collect, let's say 100 million naira from the federal allocation and then go around to present 50 million naira to the local council chairman, then cap it up by compelling the council boss to sign that he or she collected the 100 million. Agreed that some governors lord it over their people and are perpetually on ego trips, it is also not to be contested that the federal government too has perfected the act of passing the buck. The federal government under Buhari will blame everybody and everything around them for their lackluster performance since 2015, but themselves. Recall that the president once blamed activities of middlemen for rising cost of foodstuff. The federal government has failed to provide security, and this has left farmers at the mercy of their attackers. If Buhari wants us to believe that he is helpless and cannot address the problem of governors shortchanging the third tier of government, what has he done to arrest the corruption level under his government? If a single accountant general can steal so much, what other proof do we need to know that some others under his government are currently helping themselves with the public till? Recently, the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, told us that the billions of dollars recovered stolen loot were used to fund some of his social investment programs. Are there audited accounts to confirm this claim? Can the federal government provide records of the beneficiaries of these social investment schemes, including the students who were fed at home during the COVID-19 lockdown? All right, so this is what is being written here, all right, that the federal government has perfected their game of passing the buck, their game of blaming other people and everything around them. And it's actually not acceptable They need to stop that blame game. They need to stop passing the buck. They need to own up to their responsibilities and stop shifting it to somewhere else or to some other persons. First of all, they blame state government for not managing their priorities very well, not spending money on what they should spend money on. Instead of spending money on the rural areas to help uplift the life of the people there, they are building roads and flyovers in the state capitals. And that does not directly improve the life of the poor ones in the rural areas. Coupled with the fact that they decried the condition whereby the state governors will collect money that's allocated to local government and refuse to remit them either completely or part of it to the local government, and then force local government to sign that they have received the whole money. What has it done as a boss to those governors? Because the truth is that he is the supervisor. The governors reports to him. He is the supervisor to the governors. The governors are supervisors to the local government chairman. So if your subordinate is not performing as expected, all you need to do is call him to a table, give him what they call a performance feedback, all right, and possibly apply fair play, warn the person to do what is right or face the wrath of the law. But they kept quiet there and behaving helpless and then blaming state government as if the state governors are working on their own. So if you cannot simply call your subordinates to order, I can imagine how you can rule the whole country. So those are the issues bedeviling Nigeria. The federal government should stop passing the buck. National Bureau of Statistics has shown that greater percentage of Nigerians are in poverty and the greater percentage of these people are in rural areas, all right? But then the government has refused to do something to help the rural area, both state and federal. So they should own up to their responsibility and stop blaming. Though the state governors have their own blame, but the federal government has the bulk of the blame because presidency is the boss to the state governors, and state governors are the bosses to the local government. So yeah, at every level, everyone has a boss, all right, and everyone also has a subordinate. So you prove your leadership skill, and let's see how competent you are in office, and don't pass the buck to someone else, and then exonerate yourself from the problem. So thank you for listening, and that is the situation about poverty and the blame game of Nigeria. Like I was saying the other day, that this government should create a ministry of blaming affairs and probably have someone like Femi Adesina or Lai Mohammed or Festus Keyamo or FFK to be minister in charge of that ministry of blaming affairs. I think it will be, Nigeria is ripe now to have that ministry, okay? Because we cannot continue like this. There's no fuel in town. Farmers cannot go to farm. Things are getting too hard. And government, instead of finding a way to resolve the issue, they are passing the buck. It's not acceptable. It shows that this government has failed woefully, and absolutely woefully. Yes. Well, it is what it is. Let everyone go on self-deliverance. And self-deliverance is what is leading to crime today. But they will leave the root cause of the problem and be chasing small people that are looking for what to feed on in town. All right? If you put everything right, people will not go into crime. People will think less of crime. All right? There won't be crime rate the way it is right now. But because Nigeria has always been, you work for yourself, you fend for yourself, government has no plan for you, so everybody resort to self-survival, all right? And so that survival instinct in every Nigerian has grown so high that it's exhibited unconsciously to make sure that they help themselves. Unfortunately, the government doesn't even understand anything. It's quite unfortunate. So let's have your comment below, and thank you for listening.